Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here for a movie that I have been very antsy to see. Finally did. I'm kind of glad I watched it as a rental on Amazon Prime rather than bought it, because I can tell this will be a one-time watch for me. It probably won't be something I rewatch very constant like the series it's tied to. That movie is Renfield, the 2023 Chris McKay film, the guy who did the Lego movie. He also did The Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt, which I really enjoyed and loved both of those movies, surprisingly enough. Anyway, Renfield is an hour and 30 minutes. Can you believe that shit? In 2023, we have an hour and 30 minute long movie, and I was surprised by that. Anyway, the big draw for me was when the news was dropping about this film, and it sounded wacky and wild, and then we found out that Nicolas Cage was going to be playing Dracula. And I was like, dude, this could be really cool. It could be really goofy. It could be really bad. But it ended up, with his performance at least, being amazing. And then I found out Nicholas Hoult, who's played J.R.R. Tolkien. He's played Beast in the X-Men First Class movies, or the films tied to that, like, Days of Future Past, and what's the other one? Phoenix, I think? I don't know. But Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage starring in this film, they are wonderful. I love both of them. They are, of course, Nicholas Hoult playing Renfield. They are actually, this is produced by Universal, by the way. This movie is a tie-in to the original Bela Lugosi movie. They even recreate some of those scenes early on in the movie of the Bela Lugosi film from back in, 1931, 1930, something like that. I am a massive fan of that film. It was actually my first Universal Monsters film, if you don't count Van Helsing from 2004. But it was the one that I really realized what was missing in horror nowadays. For the last 10 years, 12 years, whatever it's been since I saw the film, I've loved that movie since I was a teenager, and it really stuck with me. And to find out that this is actually not just like a remake, reboot as a comedy horror movie, this is a straight out like a sequel to the original Bela Lugosi film, and not like Dracula's Daughter or Son of Dracula. Anyway, Renfield is titled Renfield for a reason, though. We follow Nicholas Hoult, who's playing Renfield. All of these years later, he is still serving Dracula. He still lives off of the blood of Dracula. If he gets hurt or killed, or not killed, but stabbed, or if he's got his guts literally hanging out of his body, he can have Dracula heal him with his own blood. And they have what is considered nowadays, in the phrase that I can't stand, a toxic relationship. And they kind of treat it as like a metaphor for just, in general, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It's not literal, But Nicholas Hoult, Renfield, starts going to these meetings of the abusive people, the addicts meetings, that kind of thing. And he starts listening to other humans talk about their experiences with toxic relationships and stuff, and it begins to ring true to him that maybe he and Dracula don't have the best relationship, even though he's literally called, apprentice. Dracula's his master. He's basically a slave to the guy. Whatever. It's a very strange way to make a parallel, but it kind of works, if I'm being honest with you. What does not work about this film is Awkwafina. Now, let me tell you, I'm not talking about the water bottle, obviously. If you've seen the film, you probably know my biggest complaint about this movie, that I think every single person I've seen talk about it so far is an Asian rapper named Awkwafina. Now, I like rap music, and I like Asian women, but let me tell you, I fucking hate Awkwafina already. It's the first time I've ever seen her in anything, and I can already tell that she is one of those people, kind of like a Jai Courtney or a Sam Worthington, that Hollywood decides all of a sudden is a star by whatever political contract they've made behind the scenes, and they're going to push this person constantly, just like they did with Sam Worthington and Jai Courtney and whoever. Awkwafina is insufferable. At least Jai Courtney and Sam Worthington can kind of make a good movie here and there, or put some kind of performance into something. Awkwafina is the equivalent of putting Ice Cube in this movie, or the equivalent of putting Ice-T in this film. The fact that her name, her show name, star name, stage name, whatever, is Awkwafina is enough to bother me. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. What no one told me is that 30% of this film, I'll be generous, 35% of this movie, with its amazing gore effects and everything else, the writing of Nicholas Hoult as Renfield and Dracula as Nicolas Cage and vice versa, their amazing performances, all of those things, that's about 35% of this movie. The other, 65 to 70% of the film is Awkwafina and her troubles as a police officer who was upset that her father was murdered, and we get to just see her run her mouth all of the time. Awkwafina has the same syndrome that people like Melissa McCarthy, Amy Schumer, who else? Samantha McBee, whatever her name is, Samantha Bee, I don't know, who gives a shit? She has the same issue as many comedians nowadays that aren't Kevin Hart, where they're going to scream as loud as they possibly can. They're going to make their joke just saying things louder and louder, and that is the joke, that they're loud and they're obnoxious. You're not fucking funny. And Awkwafina is even worse at that because she's a worse actress, somehow, compared to like Amy Schumer or whoever else we're talking about along those lines of the people I just mentioned. That is such a shame. Because this character is not bad. It's Awkwafina that's the problem. And the fact that the movie's called Renfield and we focus on that storyline for like 30% of the script, it's the same fucking thing that happened to Lego Movie 2, where we had all of this focus put on Wildstyle. No one gives a shit about Wildstyle. She's a cool character in the first Lego Movie, not so much in Lego Movie 2. It's just annoying. The whole thing is annoying. Awkwafina ruins this movie. And I say that in the way that I say this is a fun movie. Sometimes Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult are wonderful in every scene they're in, and Nicolas Cage playing this kind of Bela Lugosi Nosferatu mix of those two versions of Dracula together, it's wonderful to watch. He steals every scene he's in. Again, the makeup effects are wonderful for Dracula especially, who's slowly regenerating back to normal. Every time he gets hurt, he has to regenerate. Very slow process. But having that, the Nicholas Hoult Renfield storyline, which is wonderful too, watching Renfield trying to deal with modern day society. Even the interesting things like Dracula and Renfield can't live in a massive castle where everybody's afraid of them because the population is so big and whatever. Now, they have to live underground in like a shitty abandoned warehouse underground, basically. Because that's the only way to live the way they can. They can't be rich men like they used to be. I love what they did with this movie in that respect. But the Awkwafina storyline not only includes her revenge story about her dad being murdered and her weird complications with her sister storyline, you also have an entire subplot about the mafia who murdered her dad, who are another 25% of this movie spent on. Time-wise, I mean. What the fuck were they thinking? When I look back at the recent remakes of Universal movies, or reboots, or whatever you'd like to say, Dracula Untold was the shit. I still stand by. I really, really loved that flick the first time I saw it in theaters, and ever since then I've liked it less, but I do really, really like it and think it was the best direction to go for those movies, for what they wanted to do. Then you had The Mummy, and The Mummy was embarrassing. And all the stuff that made it fun to laugh at, they removed it, like the Tom Cruise scream. And then you had The Invisible Man from Lee Whannell, which was excellent. It was really, really good for what it was. Very fun. A little bit more of a sci-fi movie than the original Invisible Man, which is still kind of a sci-fi story, and the original book from H.G. Wells, and so on and so on. I understand why they went the route they went with The Invisible Man, but that was a good, well-made movie because of how incredible Lee Whannell is as a creative, talented man. But this movie, Chris McKay behind the camera, he's a talent. The writers behind it did a really good job with what they wanted to do. This is a story by Robert Kirkman. Not like a graphic novel they adapted, but he came up with this idea and they made a script out of it. From Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead, all of these incredibly talented people, and you shit on this project because of including Awkwafina, who, to me, it's not about anything she does or says in real life. I don't give a shit about any of that. It's that she is probably the worst actress I've ever seen in Hollywood in the last 10 years, I would say. Which probably negates the word ever, but you know what I mean. She can't hold her own. She is embarrassing in this movie. There are side characters in this film with actors that are doing a better job than she is. Her whole shtick is just to yell and cuss louder, and that's supposed to be funny. It's amazing to me. I could not believe it. How bad she is. And again, to have these wonderful makeup effects for Dracula, to have the incredible practical effects for the gore. Dude, there's so much gore in this movie, and it's fun too. Those aspects are so much fun, and to have Renfield hook onto this broad who is just so annoying, dude, throughout the entire movie. It is shocking how much time they spend on this character and the stupid-ass mafia storyline that goes the way it goes, the way we all knew it would go. One thing I want to talk about, too, that I thought was an interesting choice that could have been done poorly, and I think worked for this movie and the kind of horror comedy nature it's going for, is that Renfield gets superpowers by eating bugs. Now, of course, in the original novel, in the original Lugosi film, he just ate the stuff because it's like he was a pre-vampire, kind of. He wasn't a vampire like in Dracula's nature. He wasn't even like the brides that Dracula has floating around the castle and stuff, where they actually like eat babies and stuff in the original Bela Lugosi film. This is like, Renfield eats bugs, and in this movie he actually gets like superpowers. He can punch his arm through you if he wants to. That could have been a horrible choice, and this movie did it so well. It did it so well, and it shot very well, by the way, too. The directing behind the camera is very good. It has so much talent here, and you ruin the pacing of the humor, the jokes, the acting in general around everybody because of Awkwafina. It's such a shame to see how bad she was in this movie, because again, it really drug this movie down. I hate to keep harping on that, but I cannot believe that no one watched the dailies of this chick in the film and didn't pull like a Back to the Future and remove her and recast her. I cannot believe that didn't happen. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Renfield. It's quite a movie, and it's above average, I would say. But it could have been great. It really could have been. It frustrates me because of the amount of potential that was here. I feel like when this movie's trailers were dropping at the theater and on TV and on YouTube, I feel like I was the only person who was rooting for this film and was excited to see it. Even though it sounded a little goofy, it could have been bad because of Nicolas Cage being Dracula in it, but dude, he killed it. If you're here for Dracula, you're not going to get much of him, but what you do get, he's wonderful. He's wonderful. If you're here for Renfield himself, or just Nicholas Hoult, who's a great, talented actor, he's wonderful in it. It's everything else that can be the problem with Awkwafina. Anyway, have you seen Renfield? What did you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below, folks. Let me know if you were excited, if you loved it, if you were disappointed. What did you think about Renfield overall? Put your thoughts and comments down below. And again, I do think it's above average, but my rating scale doesn't have like a 2.5 and a 4.5 and all of that shit. It's just straight up, right on the number, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So if I had to rate Renfield on a 5-star basis, I would easily give this a 3 out of 5 stars. Even though I say it's above average, I'm not giving it a 4. I'm not giving it a 4. Awkwafina takes over too much of this movie for me to sit here and tell you it's a 4. It's not. It's above an average, but it's a 3 out of 5 at round out for me. Anyway, what did you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about it down in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all, and goodbye.